request for our business. And events like this is really what makes my job special, and really what makes connecting with everybody special too, just because this is incredible. I've done probably about 200 events in my life, and this is definitely top 2 coolest, most unique I've ever done. So Chef Dan, thank you so much for being here today. But this also couldn't be possible without great partnerships. So Kathy and everybody at Departures Travel, I thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you. And then also thank you all for being here as well too. I know I've done some of these events before where people are still kind of a little gun shy to get around people and kind of get back out there. So applause to you guys, and thank you so much for being here tonight and enjoying this great meal. But as Kathy did say, we do have a great partnership. We do work in travel, and the highlight of tonight is going to be kind of the hosted chef group that Chef Dan will be hosting with us in the summer of 2023. But I kind of want to walk you through what Silversea as a brand is, how kind of we fit into the cruise industry as well too. So, who here has been on a Silversea cruise before? All right, we've got a lot of opportunities then, a lot of opportunities. So, Silversea Cruises is the, yeah, Kathy, I know you have, come on. I was like, you forget. Silversea Cruises is the largest and oldest luxury cruise line in the world. So Silversea started in 1994 as a solo Italian company. If any of you remember Sitmar cruises in the 80s, Sitmar was sold to P&O, and then with the revenue from Sitmar, Silversea was started as the first all-inclusive luxury cruise line. We were a solely held Italian family private-owned company until January of 2020, when Royal Caribbean International purchased us. And speaking frankly, thank God that they did that, because I don't think we'd be here without them. With that being said, we really pioneered the all-inclusive model, and really the biggest focus of Silversea is kind of summed up over here, taking my taglines, is we go to over 900 destinations, we have the smallest ships, we have the most space on board, and the highest level of service. It's really about coming on board and relaxing and doing what you want in an understated elegance, and kind of this video gives a brief introduction of what our brand is about.
To all of you who have been yearning to travel, I'd like to say just one thing. It's time. It's time to go to the edges of the world and see that there is no end to discovery. It's time to go out and seek those hidden treasures. The most precious things on earth aren't things at all. The world is reopening. Open up to the world.
Mr. Mccurry, we're about to leave port.
Would you please have this sent for me before we go?
Certainly, sir.
So I always like starting with that video because does anybody recognize the name Dr. Steve Mccurry? Has anybody seen the image of National Geographic with the Afghan girl with the green eyes?
Yeah.
That's Steve Mccurry's photography. So Steve Mccurry is the resident photographer and videographer for Silversea, and every single one of those images and pictures you saw were taken on a Silversea cruise. So we're not kind of doing imagery and things of that nature that you can't do yourself. Everything that we put out there and really make forward-facing is something you can experience on our product. And how we separate ourselves in the luxury sector is simply this. It's ironic that a cruise line saying we travel places is a separator, but we visit over 900 ports of call. So as Kathy let everybody know, I have a long history of cruising in my family. My grandparents met each other at the French Line office in 1947. And then my dad worked for Holland American Line for about 35 years. So I grew up going on cruises all the time. And I thought I had a bucket list, and then when I started working at Silversea, it turned into a bucket book. So it's really one of those things, if you're striving to go somewhere, and if it's touched by water, we can bring you there in some form of semblance or another, in a very comfortable, sustainable, and a luxurious way. So obviously we're going to go to places like Europe, South America, Alaska, but we also separate ourselves doing expedition cruises. One of the most once-in-a-lifetime trips that I've done was to the Galapagos. I'm going to Antarctica in December. So it's one of those things where you can do it in comfort, but you don't have to sacrifice the experience as well. But when you do a European cruise with us, who here has been to London before? Who's been on a ship like this in London? So this is what separates us from either other luxury cruise lines. You'll be in the city centers, you'll be downtown, and we have more overnights and late night stays than any other cruise line out there. So this is what our ships generally look like. Our smallest ship is 100 passengers, our biggest ship is about 700. So we have the highest space to guest ratio in cruising. So you're never going to wait in line, you never have to worry about getting into a restaurant or a lounge or waiting for a drink at the pool. On top of that, about 95% of our suites on board have a balcony, and all of our accommodations on board are suites about 400 square feet and higher. Every single one of them has butler service. Who here has had a butler on a trip before? What's the hardest thing about having a butler? Leaving without the butler. So the level of service is fantastic. And of these restaurants and kind of experiences on board, there's going to be 8 different choices at a minimum on every single one of our ships. And each one of the restaurants can be served on balcony, course by course as well too. So imagine being outside of Parliament as the sun's going down in downtown London on a luxury cruise ship, having that once in a lifetime moment on a balcony that way too. So as I mentioned, this is really what separates us and separates us as well. 900 destinations. Our smallest ship now is about 700 square feet, but our crew to guest ratio is also 1-to-1. So our biggest ship right now is about 600 passengers. There's 540 crew members on that ship. So literally everything you can think of, every kind of level of personal service is going to be there in your suite, out of your suite, and off the ship as well too. So we also are the most all-inclusive luxury cruise line as well. So with our brand, we sell fully in Canadian dollars, and it's all-inclusive, one-stop shop as well too. So you're not walking up the ship with a bar bill or shore excursion bill or what have you, just because we want to make sure that if you're coming into departure travel with a budget of X amount of dollars, that's all you're going to be spending. And that's really the best part about it, because you don't have to worry about the bill you come off the ship with that you're paying off for a few months after. With that in mind, we're the most all-inclusive luxury cruise line because the vacation starts at your home. We actually include black car service, picking you up at your home, taking you to the airport to start your trip. So you don't have to worry about parking at the airport, taking an Uber, what have you. We then include economy airfare on all of our flights as well. But we have amazing upgrades to business class. For example, flying to Europe with Kathy and Dan next year is $9.99 Canadian each way for business class to get you to Europe as well too. So it's a great, fantastic opportunity that way. Pre-night hotel stays included, transfers are included. You're basically taken care of the entire time before you get there. And then when you're on our ships, we have the highest level of service and probably the greatest experience you can have on a cruise ship out there, because everything is included on board. So your gratuities, your Wi-Fi, your beverages, your butler service. So the best thing about a Silversea ship is your room key is simply that. The only time you're using your key is to get in and out of your suite. You're not worrying about picking up a bar tab, so on and so forth that way. But another one of the things that separates us as well is how our brand is set up is we are extremely cosmopolitan and global. We only source about 55% of our guests from North America. So we meet extremely interesting people on board outside of the normal middle Americans and so on and so forth that you would see on other luxury cruise lines. For example, my first time on Silversea was 7 years ago. Went on by myself and up at the disco, and this British lady asked me to dance. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. And then her husband's right here, and he's like, this is not good. Anyway, so they invite me to dinner the next day. I'm like, this is nice, I'm not bored by myself. And he goes, it's like, son, you're a footy fan. I'm like, it's like soccer? He's like, yes. I'm like, I'm actually a big Tottenham Hotspur fan. I'm going to the FA Cup quarterfinal match in London in 3 months. He goes, oh, you picked the wrong club, son. I'm like, why? He's like, I own Everton Football Club. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you get these places like that, people like that, with an understated elegance on board, just because everybody gets the same service on board. So that entry-level suite, with once-in-a-lifetimers on our ships going on their honeymoon, then you're going to get the owners of soccer clubs on the same ship with the great synergy and the great kind of camaraderie as well, just because everybody's the same on board, and then the crew also treats everybody that way as well too. So it's a fantastic element. Then on your way home, everything is also included. Then you get off the ship, get off the airplane with your name waiting for you as you exit the airport as well too. So fully all-inclusive, as I mentioned. And I mentioned butler service. So this is kind of a discrete service level that's untouchable and really kind of a unique aspect with Silversea, just because it's funny because we'll be covering a lot of the US and Canada, every time I come up to Canada, like, people are like, how intrusive is the butler in my room in Canada? So I'm like, yeah. But, so the most part with this is they are a room steward and concierge who get to know you as you're on board. So one of my favorite things is when you check in for a Silversea cruise, you're met at the pier, you're brought on board, and then that's your check-in process. You get greeted with a black glass of champagne by a butler, then you go right to the atrium. You're not doing the dance at Canada Place Pier with 10,000 people. You're brought right into the ship right away. So from there, you then take a picture, then they bring you to your suite. Then your butler will show you the menu of pillows to choose from. There's 9 different pillows to choose from in your suite. So my first time on board, how many pillows did I choose? 9, yes. You gotta pick up what you like. From there, he then will ask what would you like in your bar. So if you like Johnny Walker Blue, if you like martinis, if you like fresh fruit. I had a lady ask for organic sheep milk yogurt from Turkey. We got her that on board. So there's nothing that we literally will. So it's literally a request as you go, and we really kind of cater to everybody because we want to personalize the service. On top of that, my butler asked me one question that I've never heard. He's like, Mr. Dunwoody, would you like me to unpack for you? So I'm like, absolutely. So once you get on your ship, you're literally from getting on board to getting your cruise experience started is 15 minutes. Just because you're literally on board and your cruise goes. You're not going up to the Lido deck with your check-in bag, so on and so forth. But the butler will then go above and beyond. So as I mentioned, I went to the Galapagos about 4 years ago, and I took the morning off, and we were in room service one day. And we ordered mimosas, so Javier brought this white tablecloth spread, fantastic. And I'm like, Javier, are we getting mimosas this morning? He's like, oh, Mr. Dunwoody, one moment. So then he brings in a separate cart, 2 bottles of champagne. I'm like, there's 2 of us in here. Thank you, Javier. This is nice. But then he brings out a juicer and a bag of oranges and juices oranges in our room for us. That's the level of service you get on our ships. As I mentioned, I've been on a ton of cruises in my life, and there's never been a moment that I've had like that. So that's included on every single one of our cruises out there with the service level 2. So also during COVID, we really tried to reimagine our brand and really say, hey, what is luxury cruising going towards? And we refurbished every single one of our ships. We made us the greenest cruise line out there, and we also came out with 3 new ships during COVID. So like I said, thank God that Royal Caribbean purchased us because we had all this stuff in play. So we have 11 ships in our lineup, and we're building a new ship every year from this year, next year, the year after that, into 2026. So if you're looking for the newest and best hardware in luxury, we also have the opportunity out there as well. So from our ships, a culinary focus is really a big aspect as well. So we have 8 restaurants on board a ship of 596 people. So there's a lot of variety. There's no main dining room on our ships. So it's all kind of concept as well. So 3 of my favorites that I like to point out. La Dame is our hot cuisine, French style restaurants for about 40 people. The grill turns into hot rocks at night. So this is on every single one of our ships where we actually heat up a lava stone and bring it up to your table setting, and you get to cook your food yourself outside. So this is in Antarctica, in the Arctic, in Europe, where you get to cook local specialties like mahi-mahi in the Galapagos, lobster tails in Canada, New England, so on and so forth that way. But the biggest innovation that really has come to our ships is the SALT program. And this isn't over salting your food, it stands for sea and land tasting. So this is what really inspired Kathy and I to reach out to Chef Dan. Just because with this program, no one else in cruising is doing things like this. Just because what the promise of this program is, you're going to eat the local food from where you're going. And the reason that's been so hard to develop on a cruise line is you need a galley to develop that menu every day. So if you're getting 2 specialty items, you can keep repeating that. But if you want to develop a new menu each day, you need a whole other setup. So the SALT kitchen on Silver Moon, Silver Dawn, and Silver Nova is a 3-pronged approach on board. So I use a cruise from Barcelona to Rome as the example. So SALT kitchen is our largest venue at sea. So it accommodates about 300 people. Our dining venues are all open dining, so you don't need reservations at all. So from the SALT kitchen, there's a static menu, we call it the All-Star menu. So from that same cruise, you'll get bronzino, cacio e pepe, little frites, and so on and so forth that you can have a choice every day. So let's say your cruise is 11 days and you go Barcelona, Ibiza, Palma de Mallorca, Saint-Tropez, Elba, Livorno. Every time we go to those individual ports of call, we provision all new food items to then create a new menu every single day from every port you go to that changes every single day as you're on board the ship. So really cool, really well done, and you're going to eat your way through our cruises on the ship at the same time, every single day you're in a different port of call. I think we all enjoy a cocktail or a glass of wine here. Yeah. So the S.A.L.T bar, the S.A.L.T bar does that. So sangria in Barcelona cocktails, pastisses in France, grappa in Rome. And then for the S.A.L.T lab for the enrichment and the cooking classes, we have a S.A.L.T ambassador on board who's kind of like your cruise director of food. So I did this program in the Caribbean. And when you say Caribbean, you don't really think of really sexy food. And what they really did here was pretty amazing because the S.A.L.T cooking class that I took that day was about Panamanian Aboriginal dishes based off of maize and corn. Then the lecture was about how the maize and corn influenced the Aztec and Mayan empires. And then we made a polenta cake with chicken and a red wine reduction. And it was just so well thought out because it previews the next port of call you're going to. And then when you get to the next port of call, you get to do onboard experiences like this.
We like to travel, we like to go different places, but having one place to go, unpacking one time, and then having the world kind of presented to you, we couldn't get better than that.
It's been a voyage of discovery and a tremendous pleasure.
Great food is always more than what's just happening on the plate. It's about the stories behind it, it's about people who make it, grow it.
You feel like you're going off to where people really are living and experiencing, their life on the island.
I want to give the chance to my visitors to taste the cheese and the yogurt that I have used to it.
It's not just any one thing. It's the shore experience. It's the adventures we're having on land. It's about bringing that food culture and those experiences back on board. And together they really form this wonderful ecosystem of culinary curiosity.
It appealed to me because I was getting to know Greece that perhaps I haven't known before, I haven't heard of.
Getting a little bit of the local flavor and learning more about where we are.
This is my life. It's not a story. This is my life.
One of the really exciting things about being on board Silversea is seeing how S.A.L.T lives on board the ship. It's about bringing that food culture and those experiences back on board. We've loved getting to know Greece, diving into the different cultures and traditions of the islands. And the best thing is we're just getting started.
So, as you can see, the culinary aspect of our programs and kind of what we're focusing on is very kind of revolutionary because there's no other opportunities like that in cruising. And pointing out two things in that video, the gentleman in the Mykonos scarf saying, "This is my life, this is a story," that shows the organic nature of how these excursions happen. We captain about 10 to 12 people. You're going to places that have been in the neighborhoods for generations that is extremely difficult to source. And on top of that, we started the program in Greece last summer on one ship, and she circled South America, come to the Caribbean, came back to Europe. We launched another ship with this, and the average score out of 10 for this program is a 9.8 out of 10 for over a year and a half into the program. So it's been an absolute home run for us, and we're really happy that Kathy and Dan and Kathy have chosen a cruise that operate on a ship that has this. We also kind of expanded our wellness program on board with a program called Otium, and this brings the spa elements from the spa to the normal part of the ship as well too. So every single one of our suites on board has a bathtub in this suite as well. So from there, we then, with your butler service, have a menu of bath salts, pillows, temperature towels that they can set up with a bathing experience for you if you get back to the shore excursion. We then have essences on board for sleeping. As I mentioned, there's 9 different pillows to choose from as well too. Then the comfort food experience, we have 24-hour caviar, we have truffle popcorn you can have with perusing 900 different movies we have on board. But then the balcony experience is really what separates us a little bit too. So there's a hot, warm, and cold weather destination experience. The cold weather destination experience in Antarctica, the Arctic, the Alaska, we actually set up a customized hot chocolate bar for you on your balcony as you're in Glacier Bay. So it's one of those things that's absolutely incredible. But the big focus of this, as I mentioned, is our group. But the ship that this is going to be operated on is groundbreaking. This got announced at my sales conference in December, and they announced the ship, and I literally stood up and I go, "Oh my God, you're making a ship for my people." And the reason I say that, so Silver Nova is the first hybrid luxury cruise ship ever built. So it runs off liquid nitrogen gas, battery power, and fuel cells. This ship is operating at 40% less emissions than any other cruise ship that's ever been built. So as I mentioned, they're like, what do you mean they built it for your people? I'm like, does anybody know how to compost in here? I'm like, yeah, we do. So that's why this ship really is a perfect fit for what we're doing, and really kind of how we live our lives, how we focus on this as well. It's 25% more efficient in the water, but my favorite thing is obviously we're all used to the ships being out of the pier when in Victoria, but then you kind of see the smokestack billowing as they're here. What we're going to do that's different with Silver Nova in this ship category is we will plug the ship into the shore power and turn the generators off completely to be zero net emissions when we're in port as well. So an absolute home run with sustainability and really a great way to expand a luxury product that hasn't focused on this before, and now we're kind of catching up to the rest of the world, and we're really happy to share this with you. But with this ship, it looks different than a luxury cruise ship. The reason for that is we were moving our shipyard from Italy to Germany, and we needed to build a hull that can accommodate the fuel cell systems. What this has also opened up now is having new public areas on board. So this ship's going to have 12 restaurants for 720 people. So it's really a great opportunity to kind of eat your way through that way. Amazing pool deck. There's no other ship like this in the world. Double-decker restaurants with aft-facing kind of balconies up here for dining as well. And then the dust bar and kind of different spaces on board. Just because luxury cruise ships were built with the suites in the forward section of the midship, where the public areas can only be aft. Now we're going to have forward-facing restaurants, things in the promenade, and so on and so forth that way. We also now have the opportunity to expand our suite categories. So one of the biggest issues we've had with our brand is there's a balcony room that's 400 square feet. The next room up after that is 800 square feet. That's a huge jump on a cruise ship. This ship will now have 400 square feet, 500, 600, 700, 800 as well. And for the first time, we have aft-facing suites. And with this ship build, all of the structure's in the middle. So there's no beams coming down the outside. So every single one of our suites will have floor-to-ceiling windows like this. Decent bedroom. But as I mentioned, every single suite has a bathtub. So it's really a fantastic overall experience, really an absolute home run with how it's been designed, how it's been built as well. So the ship debuts in July of 2023. Does anybody have plans on July 15th of next year? You want to go? Yeah, we got space. From there, the ship will then come down the coast of France, Spain, and Italy, France, Spain, and Portugal. There's a certain cruise we're going to focus on here in August. The ship will then come across and do transatlantic, circle South America. And then if you're looking to do Alaska in 2024 on the greenest ship ever built, it's going to be in Vancouver in summer of 2024. But one thing we also are really seeing is guests traveling longer, further, and deeper than we've seen before. Me being an American, me seeing what happened to you guys during COVID, I was like, thank God you got in for caffeine. What you went through up here was unbelievable. So what we're seeing now is Canadian travelers are traveling longer than any other nationality in the world. Because you guys deserve it. I mean, frankly, seriously. How much hockey can you watch? I'm a big Rangers fan though, so I'm really happy with that. What's going on? Anyway, so as I mentioned, we have these longer voyages with really great amenities as well. So we have a 71-day round-trip South America trip on board Silver Nova after the Chef Dan and Kathy's group as well. 71 nights with overnights and 8 different destinations. Have a VIP experience during Carnival, VIP experience in the Manaus Opera House. So with that in mind, we have really great inclusions with this that are separate than the normal inclusion. So business class air is included, luggage valet and laundry is included too. So what luggage valet is, you actually ship your luggage to the ship. You then get there and your luggage is unpacked for you, and then they do your laundry the whole time. You literally don't touch your clothes unless you're wearing them. So with that in mind, we also include medical service on every single one of our ships. And this one is one thing I want to make sure that you guys are all aware of. Silversea is a fully vaccinated cruise line. We require everyone to have if you're boosted, we require a PCR test within 72 hours of arrival or a proctored antigen test within 48 hours. If you're not boosted, no problem. You require a PCR test within 48 hours, proctored antigens within 24. No masks are required on board, it's optional that way. But if you do test positive for COVID, we cover the cost of your repatriation, we cover the cost of your quarantine, and we refund your entire cruise. So everything isn't taken care of completely with our medical services on board. But as I mentioned, we've really been teasing a lot about this amazing group offer and this amazing travel experience that you're going to have with Chef Dan and Kathy. So it's onboard Silver Nova from Venice to Rome on August 21st, 2023 for 11 nights. Split, Dubrovnik, Bari, Corfu, Valletta, Siracusa, Palermo, Sorrento, and Civitavecchia for Rome. An amazing overall experience. I mean, kind of seeing what Chef Dan did today, doing that every single day, having such a personal chef out here. I do this with 5 other chefs, and I've never seen somebody more engaged than what happened tonight. So I think it's an absolute home run, and I hope that I get to join you guys as well. But as a thank you guys for coming tonight, if you do book in the next 2 weeks, you'll save an additional $600 as well. But overall, guys, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. I'll be around for questions.